The WAFB Podcast Network is sponsored by Neighbors Federal Credit Union.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. John Eads with you. Be sure to like and subscribe. Some not so good news for LSU football earlier this week, bleeding past the weekend there. Harold Perkins Jr., one of the star players on the Tigers defense, out for the season with a torn ACL, suffered in the second half in the win against UCLA. And look, this LSU defense wasn't great to begin with coming into the season. They've been better. Not that that was hard to do because they were one of the worst defenses in college football last year. But I will give Blake Baker, Kevin Peoples, Jake Olson, and Bo Davis credit for what they've done on that side of the football with kind of limited resources, That's another topic for another time. So my point is that the defense wasn't great to start. Now they've lost Jacoby and Guillory, their best D-tackle. They've lost, John Emery on the offensive side of the ball, and now Harold Perkins Jr. for the whole season. So you lose your best D-tackle, probably your best linebacker, which means this defense is going to regress. There's really no way around it, at least a little bit. Did Perkins light up the stat sheet? Not necessarily, but there's intrinsic things that he presents when he's just simply on the field from an opponent game planning perspective. And the fact that, he can wreck a game. He has the capability and the capacity to do that. Not that we've seen it a lot, but on any given Saturday, he does. You lose that. What is my point? I'm trying to make you guys feel better, you LSU fans out there that might be packing in the season now that you heard that news. I don't think you should be, doing that to begin with, but if you have started doing that since the news of this injury came out, I will tell you why that's not a good idea. It's not much of a hot take. I said this on 9 Sports Extra with Ro Davey. By the way, you can watch that on WAFB at 10:30s on Saturdays where we break down LSU, break down Southern, all that good stuff. I think, just like last year, LSU's offense is going to give this team a chance to win every game they play. I don't care who the opponent is. Alabama, Arkansas, A&M, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. I think I just named the rest of the schedule there, at least the SEC schedule. The offense is going to give this team an opportunity to win every game. It was the same story last season. The question is, can the defense just pick up the slack a little bit, right? And I'll do that topic at a different time. I just want to let you know that this offense is special. I think this offense, led now by Joe Sloan, first-year offensive coordinator, will be one of the top 15 overall units in the country in terms of passing and in terms of scoring. Rushing, not so much, but this offense is dangerous, and I don't think what we've seen is the best of what the unit is capable of doing. Let me read you the drive chart from the UCLA win. 34-17, the Tigers get it done, and they were very efficient. They punted one time. Here you go. Opening drive of the game, touchdown in six plays. Second drive of the game, they turned it over on downs on a 9-play drive in a situation where they were at UCLA's 45. They probably should have punted, but still, you moved the chains 2 different times and picked up some yardage there. Next drive, touchdown in 4 plays. That was the deep ball to Kyle Parker. Then you punted on a 6-play sequence, and you got a field goal before halftime, 7 plays. So there's the half right there. It's 17-17. In the second half, saw a stylistic change. The Tigers come out and piece together back-to-back 90-plus yard drives, both spanning more than 10 plays. 14 plays, 96 yards, 11 plays, 92 yards. And then you ended things out with a field goal, and then that was ball game. Now, that was interesting to see in the second half, that the Tigers kind of were piecing together first downs and using the run game more as well, I might add. I think that is how Brian Kelly really wants this offense to operate, especially in the second half. Putting together long drives where you bleed 7-8 minutes off the clock, you mix up the run and the pass, and you end the drives with touchdowns. That's a half of a quarter right there. 8 minutes, 14 plays, 96 yards. That gives your defense an excellent time to regroup and get a break, and it also wears down the other team as well. And that is how they really dominated this game in the second half, right? It was tied up at halftime. They have these 2 drives, and really they just squashed UCLA with those two sequences there. They put the game away rather than letting the Bruins hang around. And the defense played well in the second half, too. They pitched a shutout there. But that's what I think that Brian Kelly wants to see more of. And he mentioned this, using the tight ends, running the football, controlling the game while still having explosive plays. I think this was the best and the most complete offense performance that LSU has had. They were 10 of 15 on third down. Massive improvement from the season opener when they were 5 of 13. The penalties they chopped in half, 5 for 22 yards, like most of those were on the offense. The opener, they had 10 for 99 yards. 454 total yards, most of that passing, and they ran for 102 on the ground there. And I think the run game looked a lot better in the second half. I'll get more in depth with the third downs and how they ran the ball in those situations, but I think they were starting to get some push. Was that a great UCLA defense? No, but it's nice to see them try to work that run game and get some push up front in the interior. Something else that's really encouraging to me is the receiving core. 4 different guys are heavily involved. So Aaron Anderson's leading the way with about 300 yards. Who had that on their bingo card coming into the season? Probably not many of you. Kyron Lacey behind with about 250. Mason Taylor's got about 240. And then CJ Daniels has 200. That's 4 different receivers that have more than 15 catches and pretty much over 200 yards. So Garrett Nussmeier, who is off to an excellent start, by the way, he's over 1,300 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, is spreading the wealth. He's not locking in on one guy. And when they need to pick up first downs, they're using the passing game. They're doing so efficiently. And again, I don't think this is the best version of the offense that we will see because Chris Hilton has yet to come back, and they haven't stretched the field vertically as much as I think they want to / can. And when Hilton comes back, Kyle Parker keeps getting opportunities, even CJ Daniels. I think they will work that into their game plan. Now, what do I want to see done better? Red zone offense. So believe it or not, LSU is actually leading the nation in red zone passing touchdowns. But overall, they're 72nd in red zone scoring percentage, which means every time they get to the red zone, you score points, you get a percentage for it. So if you score every time you get to the red zone, field goal, touchdown, you would be at 1,000, or whatever it is, 100%. Right now, they are not close to the top in that category because there's been so many situations where they've gone for it on 4th down and goal, and they haven't gotten it. But despite that, and on top of that, what I want to see is them finish drives more instead of settling for field goals. Because getting back to my opening point about the defense, right? It's not great. It's not going to be great. It will be serviceable. Your margin for error, if you will, is extremely thin. So if you can cap off more drives with touchdowns, you're going to put yourself in a much better situation when you're playing other teams that can put up points. I'm thinking of Ole Miss. I'm thinking of Alabama. Probably just those two, I guess, for the teams you have yet to play. Oklahoma's offense is struggling. Arkansas's offense is And A&M's offense is also kind of middle of the pack there. So more touchdowns when you get to the red zone. Against UCLA, they kicked 2 field goals there. In the season opener, they had 1, plus they got stuffed on 4th down once as well. That can't happen. That might be the difference in winning and losing a game this year because you can't really expect your defense to do a whole lot for you based on what I've seen. Now, if the LSU defense we see week in, week out is the one that we saw in the second half against UCLA where they forced turnovers, they got sacks, they got pressure. Great. I'm hitting the pause button on that, though, because Harold Perkins was a huge reason why LSU was getting pressure, why LSU was forcing turnovers. I need to see that happen again and materialize with him not on the field. And South Alabama will give us a pretty good indication of that, I think. It's a great offense. We'll talk more about them later in the week. But I need to see that with my own eyes before I just kind of blindly, give them credit and give them the wherewithal to do that and think that will continue, if that makes sense. So that's really all I had for you. I think the offense had its best game against UCLA. I think Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, the coaches on that side of the ball are getting better and better. And for whatever reason, teams that are playing LSU just continue to stack the box. So for those of you out there that are like, we got to run the ball better, why? You're putting up about 40 points a game. You're moving the ball up and down the field. So why do you need to run the football just to run the football. I disagree with that. Would I like to see them run it better when they do decide to run it? Yes. But teams are still stacking the box against LSU. Will that change? It should, because Garrett Nussmeier is slicing and dicing every defense that is putting 7 or 8 guys in the box, playing man-to-man, playing zone behind that, whatever the case may be. So I'm sure that will change at some point. Different defenses like the game plan in different ways. But for those of you out there that are down on the offense because they're simply not running the football well, and I know that that's something that LSU's prided itself on for years, however you're getting points is how you're getting points. Now, can they find a better marriage between the two to get more points, to finish more drives, to score more touchdowns in the red zone? Yes, and that's what I would like to see moving forward. But my main point here right now is that with this offense, similar to last season, despite losing 3 first-round picks and several others, the offense is just about as good, top 15 in the country, and in every game this season, I believe that side of the football is going to give you a chance to win. And kind of like we talked about all of last year, it's a matter of if your defense can force a couple turnovers, get a couple sacks, and just play well enough for you to win a big game. And there are several of them left on the schedule for LSU in the future, including the one this weekend against South Alabama, which will probably be a scoring frenzy. We will give you that preview and prediction later in the week here on Game Time with John Eads. If you agree, disagree, hit me up in the comment section. I will respond to you. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe. LSU and South Alabama on Saturday night in Death Valley.